Hi, my name is David Batsoffen and I host a travel blog called Travel and Things. My guest this morning is in conversation with is Michael Tucker from big5photos.com. Michael, did I get it right?
That's right. That's right. Yes. How are you doing, David?
Well, thanks, and you, given the strange circumstances in which we find ourselves?
Yeah, all very good. Thanks.
Good.
Keeping ourselves busy in other ways. So yeah, it's actually been very good.
Great stuff. Michael, question. At the moment, there seems to be a plethora of photographers. Oh, I like that. That's the collective noun for photographers. A plethora of wildlife photographers. How, as a wildlife photographer, do you make your image stand out from all the rest?
I think it's important just to follow the basic rules of photography. At the end of the day, we're artists trying to put our best work out there for people to
Right.
see, and I think that you've got to sort of distinguish between snapshots in the game reserve versus something that's been planned and executed perfectly. I think with that there's a lot of planning that goes into certain shots, and to nail those are great. You've got some technical value that you can add into the image and nail it. That's what makes it stand out compared to somebody that might just have taken a snap at exactly the same time. So the technical knowledge plays a big role. There's more to it than just snapping away.
But the problem is, Michael, that we've all seen those special images that get taken by Bob Smith, who's never taken a wildlife picture in his life before, but he drives past the waterhole where the hippo is eating a crocodile who's being eaten in turn by lions. And it doesn't matter how technically perfect you are, that image will sell even if it's blurry.
Well, absolutely. I think images that are telling a story,
Yeah.
or a moment in time that's amazing. As soon as there's an element of I'm the only person with this, all right, that becomes a massive, massive selling point. I think.
Yeah.
A good example of that would be the Great Battle of Kruger.
Mm.
Where the bloke had that video with a hippo, with the crocodiles, and the lions, and the buffalo, and
Correct.
I mean, I think everybody's seen that,
I think it's recommended watching if you're a wildlife photographer.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, would some of the professionals have been able to do a better job? Hell, yes, if they were there, but they weren't.
But they weren't.
So sometimes that's how it works.
Yeah.
You get lucky with a shot, and you nail that image. That's how it goes,
Because there are so many people, and I know from when I've been in and out the bush, and yourself as well, because I think we hive off at the drop of a lens cap, given half of the chance. And then you come to a sighting where the animal under lens, so to speak, is, let's say, 300 meters away. You and I can barely reach it with a 500 or something like that. And there is some guy with a cell phone with his arm stuck out the window, hoping that he's going to get a shot that you can even see what's in his picture.
Yeah. Look, I think a lot of people are just trying to grab that memory and carry on with it, I think the issue comes in when, the same person now tries to splash that all over social media with a watermark on it, trying to, act as if it's arrived in a way. And look, I don't want to knock those types of people, because every single one of us started somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely a case of working and understanding the camera, making
With that
sure
in mind, he says, walking away very unprofessionally, to come back with my very first camera. I still have it.
Nice.
And you may be able to see glue marks on the base, because what I did was I glued a piece of conduit a thread and a nut on there, and then glued a piece of conduit so that I could use it as a handheld, as a stabilizer. I
Golly.
mean, it's
Yeah, no,
ridiculous given the quality that these things produce that I would
I
need
know.
a handle.
I used to love those things, but you know, you always figure those instamatics out the hard way, because you look through the viewfinder and it's not lined up to the lens. You've
Yeah.
actually got to change the whole composition and move people to the left. But maybe they were one step ahead of us. Maybe those people needed to be off center. If you look at it that way,
So to
maybe they
speak.
were one step ahead of us. Yeah.
But you know, Michael, I do believe, and because of these sort of things that gave you what, 24, 36 exposures if you were lucky. And you had to plan, as you say, you had to plan your shoot because you only had a finite number of images. But now with digital, you've got unlimited. You can shoot to
Yeah.
your heart's content. You can shoot 9,000 images, toss away 8,999, and just keep, you can even toss all 9,000. I mean, I was
Yeah.
going through some old archival stuff recently, and I'd taken like 15 shots of exactly the same item. I'm going like, why did
Yeah.
I do this?
We actually did that on a game drive the one day. I said to people, I think we're going to play a game here for half an hour, where for the next half an hour, you're not allowed to do a shutter burst.
Right.
Or whatever we find, you're not allowed to do a shutter burst. And then we're gonna score the images that come out of the cameras when we
Right.
get back to the lodge. And it was quite scary to see how many of those images in the beginning were very poor. And then as we went through the game drive, eventually the guys actually started thinking and planning and waiting for that perfect little moment, and then executed that. And it was such a good exercise because the people really figured out, hey, it's not just about let's burn that shutter and let's you know, make sure that we just snap away and hopefully one of those is going to be good. It's much better just to plan it and execute it, because I think the skill levels get improved then. It's always a good thing to try and improve your skill levels and learn about this. And I think that's the big thing that I try and teach, whether it's on Safari or the online stuff that we're doing now because of lockdown or in the classroom. It's always about making sure that you're one step ahead of the person next to you, to get the better shot.
Yeah. But do you not think that people like yourself maybe and I, that come from an old school film grounding, used to do that? We composed in the viewfinder because in those days there was no Photoshop. It was hours in the darkroom. So you made certain that the image that you shot, if you took it to your local photo processor, when you got your little 3x5 postcard a week later, you could go, ooh, I got it right. The animal is is off center. We have obeyed the law of thirds and all that sort of stuff. Now with Photoshop, you can manipulate, you can change, you can do all sorts of things and it's minutes. Well, for people like you, Photoshop for me, a week and a half. I might as well go back to darkroom and stuff. But it's that type of thing that I think differentiates photographers. Those that can compose and those that just go, as you say, click. If it will take 9,000 shots, if one works, it works. If it doesn't, well, hey, we'll take the best one of those and manipulate the hell out of it until we've got it right.
Yeah, I think there's if you look at you know, some of the guys out there that are really, really good, they're not posting on a daily basis.
No, they don't.
Putting stuff out there every 4 seconds, you know, and I think there's a valuable lesson in that. When you put things online and you're trying to show off your skill and your art, I think it's very important to only post the very best stuff, because if you don't, then people are going to start going, man, what was that? That's not so good, and so on and so forth.
But also
Richard Dutoy, he's
Mhm.
one. He hardly ever
I was
posts
going to
too
say, I
much stuff,
very
but every
seldom
time
see
he
work of
does,
Richard's online. But by
yeah,
the
every
same
time he
token,
does,
yeah,
post, it's world
people go,
class.
yeah. There's a photograph at the
It's
moment.
world class.
I think it's a winner in one of the international categories. It's a cheetah chasing down what I think is a Thompson's gazelle.
Yeah,
It's
I've
the
seen that
most
one.
awesome image. And then last year, out of Morataba, there was an image of a leopard dropping onto an impala taken by an American photographer whose name escapes me right now. They come to Morataba where they used to 3 weeks and all they shoot is cats. And his images are stonking. And as you say, one image, there may have been before and after, but that was his image from 3 weeks. But also, you've got to be careful, Michael, if you are shooting with another photographer, and it's happened to me, and we both posted images unbeknowingly of each other with our own watermarks on them. And the image was so identical, but for the pour, which was instead of being at 45 degrees, was at 30 in one and 45 in the other, that people didn't complain to the other photographer. Well, they didn't complain to me. They complained to the other photographer that I had stolen his image. And then Grant
Yeah,
had to say, no, 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 David and I were sitting next to each other and literally
no,
frame for frame.
it's funny. It's funny when that happens, and I think that's one thing that I tend to do quite a lot of. You know, I'm processing images now from 2018, for example,
Right,
because what I really like doing. My guests that come on safari with me, they come back, they're very excited because they've had a good experience, and it's not fair for me now to go and post all my best images of the same safari
right.
um, online. I'm not saying it's because my work's better. I'm just saying, let's give them a chance to
Yeah.
get their stuff online and shown to the world. And it's something that I do very much on purpose. I
Okay.
very rarely, I might take one or two of my images from my most recent trip and put it on there because I think that's still important. But 90% of the time, I generally post older images, and then once I've known that these people have not done their thing, then I might put my version of it on there, and
Fair enough.
not be a hogger of the space, so to
Okay.
speak.
Fair enough. But now is it how important is equipment? Because it's the same as you go to somebody for dinner, they make you a really nice meal, and you don't say to them, "Oh, that was a nice meal. You must have a great stove." You just say,
Yeah,
"It was a
exactly.
really nice meal." And it's the same with
Yes,
camera equipment, I should imagine.
absolutely. Look, I think it does make a difference, but I think, the understanding of the equipment for me is more important. I have an image that I took quite a few years ago where a leopard was up in the tree. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is exactly what happens with regards to the photography. At the end of the day, you've got what is known as dynamic range.
Mm,
And if you overexpose or underexpose, exactly what's happening on the sensor? Well, the sensor doesn't pick up any data,
yeah.
which means you can't manipulate that data afterwards. All right. And we're not talking about cheating and adding leaves or taking away plants or putting another leopard in the frame. We're talking about the basic processing of your raw file. Now, the raw file saves much more data than what your JPEG file does.
Mm,
So it has to be processed. So because that has to happen, by no mean is it cheating. All right. So I
mm.
just thought I'd get that out there.
Okay.
Okay. Now, with that in mind, I shot this leopard in the tree literally between 1 and 2 stops underexposed. You could hardly make out that the leopard was there. And all I wanted to do was keep the beautiful blue sky in the background between that shade that would have definitely been overexposed had I
Mm,
shot brighter.
yeah.
So the question was about the equipment. Well, I knew I had very good equipment in my hand, and I knew that I'd be able to post-process this to make it look excellent, right? And for that reason, I shot dark the whole scene. And when we got back and we processed it, we lifted the shadows, we dropped some highlights, we fixed that exposure perfectly. And for that reason, when we ended up making fine art prints of it, all of those blues and the greens in the camel thorn tree shone through perfectly, and it ended up being a beautiful image. And it's small things like that
Yeah.
the understanding of your equipment is really good. With that in mind, though, normal equipment, you can shoot with anything, but understanding exactly how everything works, I think that's the big secret.
Because I think a lot of people, a lot of beginners, and maybe some not so beginners, will get a camera, and because you've read up about it, and you know that if you back in the old days, if you were using an SLR, it was always f8 at 1/25th or at 250. Those were your go-to f-stops and speed, and your ISO was normally around about 200, 100 if you were lucky, depending on what you were shooting. But nowadays, given the equipment and given that, to extrapolate that to the DSLR cameras, to the digital cameras, you find a lot of people will just do a setting, and then they're scared to change it, lest they forget what it was, or they go, what have I done now? I've changed TV to AV, and I've changed the speed, and now I don't know where I've got to go back to. But if learn your equipment, learn what it can do, and more importantly, learn what it can't do. It's pointless taking a picture at midnight when you know that the one candle that's lighting it is not going to give you the shot. You're just going to get.
I think that's a very important point you make there. Understand the limitations. There's so many times in late afternoon when that leopard pops out and he's messing around on the road and doing every single pose known to mankind, and you're sitting there and you're clicking away, and you just know that there's nothing you can do to actually make this image work. So maybe you just need to think out the box a little bit. Instead of maybe trying to snap a nice portrait image of this leopard, why not try and slow it down completely and do some motion blur? Good, perfect artistic motion blur at sort of 40th, 50th of a second. Because that light is low, you might end up with a really good image versus definitely not even getting one when you're trying to shoot it normally, so to speak.
I hear you, because you actually posted a picture recently.
It's purely understanding.
You posted a picture.
Sorry, that's just.
No, we're talking over each. This is the beauty of this technology. We've got to wait for a delay.
I'll stop. Okay.
We'll do the hand signals. This means timeout, Michael. You posted a picture recently with that exact thing. I think it was leopard in grass, and you could see very little of the leopard. I think there was like one eye or something that was nice and sharp, but it told a story. And I think a lot of us go out on game drives or even on walks, and it happens more with the cats than anything else. A cat will find one stalk of grass, one, that will run through its face or through an eye. They are innately adept at doing that. And then it works out, it comes to, at the end of the day, when you are processing, do you leave that there? Do you discard the photograph? Or do you spend time removing the stalk?
I think what I don't do is take those things away. I've got numerous photographs where I've, for example, there's a wild dog image. It's full of grass. Grass is everywhere. But there's this very small ray of light that just hits that wild dog's eye, which illuminates that image. And I think it's something like that that makes a big difference. And I don't know if you can allow me to share the screen.
Yes, of course.
Then I can show you the image that I'm talking about. I think it will be a little bit easier that way.
Says he looking at Hmm. Oh, wait, I
So
think we've got to go down here. Uh, I've not tried this before, Michael. If you just try and share. Oh, wait, here we go. Share screen. Um, oh no, that's share my screen, and I don't want to do that.
yeah.
Oh, we should have practiced this.
It's no problem. No problem.
Yeah, you see, the last time I tried this, there was just a allow to do, but now it won't allow me to do. So we're going to have to do
Okay.
without. But I hear what you say.
What I can do is cheat the system.
Ah, there we go.
So we'll cheat the system. Now I can't see what you're looking at right now.
No, I can see. I'm looking at the eye of the wild dog. So I see exactly what you mean.
So
there's grass all over the place.
So, and for me, that was the memory. That's all it was. The tiny splash of light on that dog's eye makes, for me, a fairly decent image.
Yeah. But you also posted a picture of a python in a tree.
Yes.
I think it was from a few days ago, which also supposedly broke rules. But what the heck? Again, it tells a story. That's how you would find the python. You can't get that python exactly thirds, because it took up the entire length of your image, and you needed the whole snake.
For me, the rule of thirds is one that's important, but not if you're going to cut an element out of the image. So many times the people would try and place exactly the eye on the rule of thirds, and then maybe a tail or the tip of an ear or a leg leaves the image. Then that for me is compositional catastrophe number one, is if you chop an element of a subject off.
Unless you're doing it on purpose.
Head and shoulders. Yeah, I'm not talking about head and shoulders crops and things like that, or just a photograph of a trunk or a tail. That's completely different.
Yeah.
But if you're generally showing off the entire image, the entire animal needs to be in that image. Otherwise, it's a big boo-boo in my book.
But isn't photography like art, Michael? It's subjective. I have
100%.
I've sent some images to competitions where I've realized how pretentious the words of the judges actually are, and they had no idea how the image had been taken. I won second spot with one particular image that they had wonderful things to say, and all I'd done was I'd stuck the camera on the beach and there was a crab that I was trying to photograph, and I just pushed the button until I got the image that I liked, submitted that, and they had reams of stuff to say from a technical point of view how I'd achieved this photograph, and they had no idea. I never submitted to that particular magazine ever again because of that. I thought, you guys know nothing,
Yeah.
Or the winning photograph is of such an obscure thing, and you go, but why did you pick that? Where is the? And then you go, no, I can't be judgmental, and it's subjective. Beauty is definitely in the eye of.
No, it is 100%, and I think that's often a problem. I recently hosted, well, I wasn't the host, sorry, let me rephrase. Recently was asked to judge a photographic competition for one of the bird clubs up in Joburg. And, I'd gone into quite a lot of detail as to how I did it. I broke it down into 8 scoring factors, So I had composition as one, I had clarity as one, I had depth of field as one, I had, the color, the story, all of that type of stuff I put into a mark out of 10.
Right.
And then literally divided the overall by the amount of inputs that I had,
Okay.
And that gave me a point out of 10 for any given image. And that's how I scored everything. And
okay, well,
the
that's
good
fair
news
enough.
was that everything came back accurately,
Yeah.
So the one image might tell an absolutely fantastic story, but compositionally it's average. It still gets merit because it's still decent. So the ones where you can line all of that up, you nail the composition, you nail the story, you nail the whole package, those are the ones that are going to stand out head and shoulders above the rest.
So if people, once we go to level whatever it's going to be, I noticed when our president was speaking recently that it's now no longer just a level; it's now alert level. So
Yeah.
they've dropped another word in there. Maybe there'll
Yes.
be non-alert levels after level one.
Uh,
Who knows?
gosh.
But
Yeah.
once we're back, before we can go back, people who are sitting at home now in these strange times and who have cameras, in order
Yes.
to become better, to have a better understanding of the camera, would you suggest that they go and sit in their garden and take a picture of a flower or a bird on a bird bath, something just to fiddle around and then change the settings? Because
Yeah.
you get that data when you upload, so you know what you've done. And then you can
You
make
know what
notes
you've
of
done.
that for once you get back into the bush. Then you can go, all right, I
Absolutely.
know that I used to shoot this way, but if I shoot this way, I'm going to get better images in the afternoon or the morning. You've
Yeah.
got nowhere to go, basically, and all the time to do it in.
Well, the time is great right now for that
Yeah.
because there should be a lot of time to be able to practice. You know, how many birds you get on any given day is up to you,
Yeah.
how much bird seed you throw out there
Yeah.
or how much fruit you put down or whatnot. But the point is that you could actually get enough subject matter and material to do some shots with. If you've
Mm.
got macro lenses, then, you know, go and find those little bugs and critters and shoot them and try and just make something happen, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if you, and I've found that under normal circumstances, often you rock up at the lodge first day of a safari and, you know, you're ready to rock and roll, and you feel a little rusty. I'm sure you've had
Yeah.
it as well, you know,
If you've been out of the
that
bush just
first.
for a month, let alone 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Exactly.
Yeah.
First game drive blues. And then, you know, you got to shake that little shutter finger and, you know, warm things up
But
and
you
just
know
get
what
into it a little bit first.
yeah, you
So
know what
that
the worst
always
is,
makes
Michael?
sense.
The worst is when, and I put my hand up. I used to be guilty. I now don't anymore. Is you coming up to a site and you figure, listen, those lines are not going to be lying there for the next 30 seconds. So let me start taking pictures while the vehicle is still moving. And then you come
Yes.
back and you never use those images because
Not
you're
once.
bouncing. They're a waste of time. So
Yeah.
now I've learned, and maybe this is a top tip for other people, is wait until the vehicle is stopped and in position. Specifically
Yes.
with lions, because they're going to lie there for they're going to lie there for so long that you're going to get bored looking at them.
Correct. That's why they're called lions.
Yes.
I know that that's been thrown out there a million times, but it's true. There's
Yeah,
so much to do with that initial conversation that we had with you know, the moving vehicle and so on.
yeah,
I often teach on my classes, you know, when people want that clarity and that sharpness in the
mm,
images. And it's so often how you shoot.
yeah,
When you actually push that little shutter button, how steady are you really? And if you can really say that, yes, I'm 100% steady, or my camera's on a tripod or a beanbag or something like that, then I'll start looking at your other issues.
yeah.
Okay.
Duct taped to your partner's head if necessary.
Yeah.
But also,
90% of the time, the issue is that.
yeah. But Michael also, and I want to end on this because we're going to do this again in the not too distant future with looking at other aspects of photography. When it comes to stability, if you've got none of those, if you don't have the tripod and you don't have the beanbag and you haven't got somebody's head or shoulder to rest your camera on, learn a breathing technique. Learn to slow down your breathing, and if necessary, hold your breath before you push the shutter. It's the same as if you doing advanced rifle handling or something like that, where you know that if you want to get the shot correct, you've got to learn to control your breathing. And it's the same
Yeah.
for photography, specifically with long lens.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, if you are moving a tiny amount where that camera is, you're multiplying that by 3 or 4 or 500 millimeters, you have a lot of shake that's happening at your subject. And you've either got to get that shutter speed really fast to negate that. You know, a lot of people speak of that reciprocal rule where you need the inverse of focal distance, which, let's say, for example, 400 millimeters, you're going to need 400th of a second at least to stop camera shake. When I teach, I say double that, because as soon as you overexpose or want to close an aperture or something, at least you've got a little bit of leeway. And that makes a big difference to the sharpness of the overall shot. Definitely.
You also alluded earlier to the online courses that you're currently running.
Yes.
So if people are interested in doing one of your courses, how do they find you?
Big5photos.com with a number 5. That's the easiest place to go and have a look. There's a tab at the top that sends you there. Otherwise, we've got a Facebook group as well called Big 5 Photos, funny enough. And
it's strange that
we're pretty active on the Facebook group. So you'll be able to get hold of me there, or the Big 5 Photos page on Facebook has also got a lot of information on it all the time. But Big 5 Photos, the website, you'll be able to get hold of me there, and you know, if you need to send me a mail, everything's there for you to be able to do that. We've made the cost of the courses fairly reasonable, I think, and they've been very popular. We've had about well, just under 100 people that have signed up for the courses.
That's wonderful.
During lockdown, and it's been really, really cool. So from that point of view, there will be more, because people keep on asking me, are there going to be more? I keep on telling people this will be the end of it, because I'm trying to sow a seed of hopefully lockdown will finish. But as long as it carries on, you know, we're going to be doing these courses. And they're broken into 10 modules. So if you just want to do one module, you can.
Good stuff.
And everything's on the web. Everything's on the website.
Michael, we're going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you all the best with the course. I hope the family is safe and healthy, and you and I will no doubt bump into each other in the bush somewhere in the hopefully not too distant future.
Yes, please. Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you very much for hosting me, David, and I look forward to that bush time when it may come along.